Hi folks, it's Silver Dave at LocalSilverMint in Ware, New Hampshire, and oh my goodness, we have some serious stuff to talk about. We are witnessing the biggest bubble I've ever seen. I've never thought that a bubble could get this huge. This thing is incredible, and we're gonna talk about that in just a few minutes. Folks, when I was a Green Beret in the Army Special Forces, one of the Special Forces ethos was that a Green Beret studies all weapons and artifices of war. And so I've always kind of looked at things to see if they can be used as a weapon. So I'm always looking at things and like, oh, can this be used as a weapon? And I know that years ago, when I finished my time in the military and I discovered that the monetary system is a weapon. This financial system is a weapon. And when I say weapon, I mean it is the most dangerous, most powerful weapon on the planet. Now, you might be thinking, well, how is money a weapon? I mean, we buy stuff with it, but hold on. It's a weapon because it can be used to affect switches and levers that will cause you to either not get food anymore, not get electricity or heat or fuel or supplies or communication. And all those things are very fragile because they are dependent on this financial system. And the financial system has been weaponized against us. And so this situation is very dangerous. And one of the things that I've been looking at a lot is what happens in a financial catastrophe. When I've been studying Weimar Germany, you probably know about Weimar Germany in the 1920s had a massive hyperinflation, and that hyperinflation resulted in people burning bricks of German marks in their furnace to heat their home, and wheelbarrows filled with money to get in line to buy a loaf of bread. And when you got from the back of the line to the front of the line, the money in your wheelbarrow wasn't enough anymore to buy the bread. Folks, history is repeating itself. We are watching the same thing, the same setup all over again, except this time it's largely a digital system. Most of the money is actually not paper, it's mostly digital money. And it hides in all these different pockets that are described as assets, but a lot of them are not what I would think of as an asset, in that when I think of an asset, I think of something that has a value, not something that is like debt, something that is a negative. But this financial system is largely in the digital centers, and so it allows them to make this bubble even bigger before we see it, and before that you notice it. Like, because in Weimar, it was, you would see the paper marks were littering the streets because there were so many. But this time, that evidence, that indicator does not present itself yet, because it's still in these digital pipes, and it allows them to make the bubbles even bigger. But because the bubbles are even bigger, that means that when they pop, it's even more destructive. And I want to show you a few data points in just a little while about some of these bubbles that are even bigger, ridiculously big. But before I show you that, I want to talk a little more about the money as a weapon. And that this money as a weapon it's so powerful because they can literally shut off the food. Let's take a look at this for a second. Right now, you may or may not know, but did you know that more than 50% of the beef that Americans eat comes from overseas? More than half, in fact, a lot more. Most of the beef Americans eat gets shipped in from other countries. The food that people are eating at the grocery stores that they're buying largely comes from just a handful of giant food producers in America and outside of the United States. And that food travels a very long distance to get to you. And that it has a lot of infrastructure that it needs in order to get to you. A lot of different things have to happen, and they need truckers, they need internet, they need logistical coordinations, and of course, they need money. The money is the blood that flows through the whole system and makes all the things move. And if the money doesn't work, then the trucks stop moving. And if the trucks stop moving, the food stops coming. The people stop going to work to produce those things, and everything stops. And so this financial system can literally be shut off on us and would starve people to death, would cause so many problems. And we've seen this before. We've seen lots of different tyrannical governments. They went too far. They started just taking all the freedom and liberty from the people more and more and more. And then they starved them to death, like in Russia or in China or in Germany. And they murdered millions of people by starving them to death. And this is not the first time we've seen it. And so now the financial system is in a place where it's quite possible, let me word that different, because possible is the word. It is absolutely unavoidable. There's no turning back this thing that's happening now. There's no changing what is coming. And so the only thing that you can do is be prepared to try to set yourself up to be able to survive this next couple years. And so part of that is going to be having physical silver that you know exists. I'm not talking about paper promises for silver that you've never seen sitting in a vault somewhere for you. Yeah, that's great that you can buy it and you don't have to go through the hassle of storing it and all that, but the problem is you're not buying silver. You're buying promises for silver from people who have no silver. And so with this monetary system, in 1907, there were over 20,000 privately issued currencies in the United States. And then a organized bank crash, which the top bankers orchestrated a bank crash by promoting the idea that the other banks were insolvent in the newspapers. It caused a real run on the banks. The real run of the banks actually crashed the banks, and then people went into a place of financial depression. And then, of course, out of the financial depression came the Federal Reserve System. And they had it ready to go. They had already designed it. And they knew that by crashing the current system, they would get people to beg for the new system. And now, here we are again. The current system is not going to last much longer. It cannot. And I'm going to show you in just a moment why it can't last much longer. And so, but that they crashed this system and then they railroad people into the new system. What's the new system? The new system is a digital central bank currency, one that they control from the top down. They control who you give money to, who you receive money to, what you spend money on, how much money you spend, what kind of things you can buy and in what quantities, and they can program it for you. And if you're a person that doesn't want to do what they tell you to do, maybe they mandate you take a medical procedure, and you're like, well, I don't want to do that. Well, then your wallet is turned off and you don't get to buy anything. And that's why having 1/10 ounce silver for barters and trades is one of the important components in your stack. And I'm not telling you should stack 100% in fractional silver. I think you should actually stack a bigger amount if you're stacked in conventional bullion that gives you your dollar inflation hedge. And then a smaller portion of your stack should be little pieces of silver, like 1/10 ounce silver for barters and trades. That way you can buy stuff regardless of the condition of the financial system and without needing the digital currency. The other thing is that there might be some things that you want to buy off of the grid. And if you want to buy some things that are off of the grid, like maybe you want to buy something like, maybe you want to buy a box of bullets, but your digital thing won't let you do that. Well, you may be able to hand a guy physical silver for that. And so it's very important. Now, I want to take us over here and show you another astounding number here, because paper silver bubble. Now I know we've looked at the debt clock last week and I was talking about it, and so I have to show you because there's even more developments here. And so first of all, last week I was telling you the paper to silver ratio was up. First we saw it was 395 to 1 like a week and a half ago, then it was 396 to 1, 397 to 1, 398 to 1, 399, now it's 400.18 to 1. It's over 400 today. It's going up so fast, it's like every day I can see it going up. And that is, how big can the paper silver bubble get before it pops? I think this is the biggest bubble I've ever seen. I can't imagine a bubble that's a 400 times the size of the actual asset. I mean, we're talking about $3.4 trillion market cap of silver, and 99.75% of it is actually paper and not silver. And so when this house of cards goes down, the physical silver is going to its actual price, and its actual price will be the amount of silver ounces that exist divided into $3.4 trillion. Right now, it's the amount of silver plus 400 times as much paper divided into the $3.4 trillion. So the silver price, we're talking about astronomical gain here. And one of the things I noticed was that in Weimar, Germany, when they had their financial crash, I read articles and stories of people that literally bought a building in Berlin for 70 ounces of silver, a house in Berlin for 35 ounces of silver. And so that's coming back. Folks, this thing is absolutely just absolutely over the top. And just going also looking at the interest on the debt versus the defense budget, this interest on the debt is rapidly climbing to a tremendous degree faster than the defense war budget. And it appears that maybe in a month or two at this rate, the interest on the debt will exceed the defense budget. But if that's not enough, in a year or in 2 years, it'll be double, and then it'll be 4 times. So it's going faster and faster. This whole thing, there's not much time left on this financial system. And this financial system is, in a way, a weapon that can stop your food, it can stop your supplies, it can stop your communication. Those systems are very fragile. And these guys can maneuver different things around, and they can keep on cooking the books and making things seem like they're fine, except there's a problem. And the problem is that this paper silver and paper gold, but the paper silver is much more alarming. But if you could think of it like a warehouse, and a warehouse filled with gold and silver bars, and in that warehouse, every day, some guys go in there and they take another gold bar out, big 1,000-ounce gold bar, and they take it out and they leave a piece of paper behind that says, I owe 1,000 ounces of gold, whatever bank. And they put these pieces of paper. And so on here, everything looks fine, everything's good. Except that what people don't realize is that in Fort Knox or wherever people think that the gold and silver is, there probably isn't much gold and silver anymore. And instead, there's just lots and lots of pieces of paper that say, oh, I owe you gold and silver. And so there's probably almost nothing left in there. And what happens when there is none left? When there's none left, that's when these guys, the gig is up. And so I think this paper silver bubble, it's coming soon. I don't know how much bigger this paper silver bubble can get. I just know that I'm stacking up silver and I'm accumulating silver. I'm accumulating other supplies and things that I think could be good prepper tools in case I need them for survival purposes. I'm networking with my local community. This stuff that people don't realize because they haven't seen it happen in their lifetime. They don't think this can ever happen, but that our grandparents and the people that are no longer alive today, they saw a massive financial disaster, and these guys waited until those people had died off before this happens. But what's even more interesting is that this financial disaster, because it's mostly digital, we can't see the signs until we see them. And when we see them, then it's like all at once. And so I think this financial disaster is going to be the biggest financial disaster in probably in 1,000 years. And it's global, all the countries. And then the end result of it is either a new currency that gives the tyrants massive top-down control, or things go in some unpredicted way in which maybe the tyrants don't get their way. That's kind of what I hope. I hope that something unexpected happens that they weren't planning on, that throws a wrench in their plan. But regardless of what happens with that, I can at least affect my own actions, and that's why I'm stacking silver. And I'm not just stacking big bars, but I'm also getting little pieces for barters and trades, so I can still buy stuff. If you want to buy our 1/10 ounce silver for barters and trades, please check the link in the info description below, and you can buy them from our favorite online dealers. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Silver Dave at Local Silver Mint in Ware, New Hampshire. And have a great day, and remember to stack it up.